Carl Jung, 7 signs your spiritual awakening is over. It's time to use your powers. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung, have you ever felt like something deep inside you has shifted, but now you're wondering, what's next? In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we explore 7 powerful signs that your spiritual awakening is complete, and more importantly, what it means when it's time to start using your inner powers. This isn't just about recognizing the journey, it's about stepping into your role as a conscious creator. Comment below, "I'm ready to use my power," if you feel that shift within you. Let's dive in together and uncover the next stage of your spiritual evolution. 1. The awakening has ended. Now begins the mission. You didn't awaken just to linger in reflection or remain wrapped in the warmth of spiritual signs. Awakening was never the final chapter. It was the sacred invitation. It cracked open the veil between illusion and truth, giving you a glimpse beyond conditioning, beyond ego, beyond fear. But that glimpse wasn't the prize. It was the beginning. A call to step into the world, not just as a seeker, but as a creator of light, a carrier of spiritual wisdom. You've read, studied, healed, cried, and released what no longer served you. Now, what remains is the essence of who you truly are, unfiltered, unafraid, and undeniably ready. Many chosen ones get stuck in the glow of awakening. They stay in the waiting room of the soul, endlessly seeking more synchronicities, more signs, more spiritual confirmation that they're still on the path. But the universe doesn't keep echoing the same message forever. It speaks once, twice, maybe 3 times, and then it waits. It waits for you to move, to rise, to act. Because awakening isn't about collecting clues. It's about transforming into the version of yourself that already knows. The illusion has been exposed. The layers of false self have peeled away. What's left is not a question, but a responsibility. The truth is, you'll never feel perfect. But the world doesn't need perfection. It needs presence, awake, embodied, and real. Every breakdown, every lonely night, every deep loss you endured, none of it was random. It was sacred preparation. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. The voice inside you, the one that gently speaks in moments of stillness, that's your compass. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It whispers. And what it says is, you're ready. That knowing, that peaceful conviction in your chest is not a dream. It's the very power you've been looking for. You are no longer just a seeker of truth. You are a vessel of it. You are a living embodiment of spiritual wisdom. The light you carry isn't just meant to illuminate your path. It's meant to ignite others. You were not chosen to be silent. You were not awakened to simply observe. You were initiated to build, to speak, to heal, to lead. What you've learned isn't meant to be stored away like sacred artifacts on a shelf. It's meant to be used, shared, lived. Spiritual alignment is not passive, it's participatory. You are here to shape a new reality with your presence. There is no more waiting for the right time. You've already received what you need. The signs, the clarity, the trials, they've all passed through your life to bring you here. You've walked through fire. You've survived storms others didn't see. And now, you can no longer pretend you don't know. You've outgrown the fear. The need to be validated no longer holds weight. What's left is real power, quiet, calm, and unshakable. This is the pivot. From watching your transformation to walking in it. from studying spiritual wisdom to becoming its living proof, from envisioning a future to building it now. You were never meant to remain in the cocoon of awakening. You were meant to fly to serve, to spark, to shift the very energy of any space you enter. Not because you wanted to be chosen, but because your soul came here to be exactly this. The time for awakening has ended. The time for embodied action has arrived. And the universe is no longer whispering. It's watching, waiting for you to move in full trust, full truth, and full power. Are you ready to step into your true mission? If your awakening has prepared you for aligned action, comment below. I am ready to serve, to declare your commitment and inspire others to rise into purpose. 2. The 7 signs that your awakening is complete. Sign 1. You no longer feel separate from the universe. You no longer search for divinity outside of yourself because you've realized it was never out there to begin with. The longing to connect with something greater has transformed into the deep knowing that you are that greatness in human form. This is not an intellectual belief, it's an embodied truth. You feel it in your breath, in the space between thoughts, in the quiet awareness that watches everything but resists nothing. You feel oneness with all that is not as a poetic idea, but as a living presence. The trees, the wind, the laughter of strangers, even the silence between words, all of it feels like part of you now. You've stopped labeling experiences as good or bad because you've seen the divine thread that weaves them all together. Peace is no longer a goal on the horizon. It flows from you, quietly and naturally, like sunlight through an open window. Resistance dissolves. You no longer fight against the unfolding of life because you've tasted the freedom of surrender. The need to prove yourself, fix everything, or force outcomes fades. You let go, not because you've given up, but because you've awakened to the deeper intelligence that governs all things. And this letting go is powerful. It opens space for miracles, synchronicities, and alignment that can't be orchestrated through force. You've become aware that your energy is not passive, it is creative. Every emotion, every intention, every thought is a frequency, and those frequencies shape reality. You notice how your internal shifts instantly reflect in your external world. When you're at peace, life becomes effortless. When you're in fear, chaos arises. This isn't punishment, it's reflection. And now, you respond to life as a conscious artist, not a victim of circumstance. The old self that searched endlessly for answers has dissolved into the quiet power of presence. You don't need constant validation, spiritual highs, or dramatic signs anymore. Your presence is the sign. You are the miracle you once begged for. There is no longer a wall between you and the universe. There is only unity, only flow, only truth. And from this sacred space, your purpose begins not in striving, but in simply being. That is when you know the awakening is complete. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've stopped asking questions that separate you from what already lives within. Sign 2. Your intuition guides you without doubt. You trust your inner voice fully now. There is no longer a need for endless signs, approval from others, or carefully crafted pros and cons lists. You just know. The clarity doesn't come from logic, it comes from alignment. You don't chase certainty, because certainty has taken root within you. It's not about confidence in outcomes anymore. It's about confidence in the knowing that lives inside your soul. That knowing does not scream. It does not compete. It simply speaks, and you listen. In this stage, fear is no longer your decision maker. Confusion no longer clouds your mind. You've outgrown the habit of seeking outside answers because you finally realized your energy speaks louder than your thoughts. Your body responds before your mind finishes the question. The shift happens quietly, and yet it changes everything. You no longer ask, "Is this the right path?" You feel it. You sense the expansion. You recognize the contraction. And you follow that guidance, not because you're sure of what's next, but because you're sure of yourself. There is a moment in every chosen one's journey when the need for external validation disappears. What replaces it is not arrogance, it's peace. A peace that doesn't beg for permission. A peace that moves through uncertainty like water, flowing where it needs to go. You stop chasing signs. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You act because it feels right, not because it looks right. This is the power of deep spiritual alignment. It doesn't ask for proof. It simply moves in truth. When you trust your intuition, you no longer stall in hesitation. There's a calm decisiveness in your presence. People around you may not understand. They might say, "You've changed." And they're right, you've stopped performing for a world that taught you to doubt your own inner wisdom. You've chosen to trust the whisper instead of the noise. You've chosen the internal compass over the external map. You've stopped asking for directions to a place your soul already knows how to find. This is the transition from awakening to embodiment. Intuition becomes your leadership. Faith becomes your foundation. You no longer check 10 times before taking one step. You just move. And in that movement, life rearranges itself to meet your energy. This is not magic. This is spiritual maturity. The ability to move without needing to be convinced. The ability to know without having to explain. The ability to feel aligned and trust it, even when it makes no sense to the outside world. You have graduated from waiting, from questioning, from doubting. Your power now lies in presence, in listening to the quiet pull that says, "This way." That quiet pull is your path. That gentle nudge is your direction. And you follow, not because it's easy, but because it's true. Sign 3. Material desires no longer control you. You no longer chase money, status, or validation because something deep inside you has awakened. You've outgrown the need to impress others with what you wear, what you own, or how much you earn. Your soul no longer feeds on attention. Instead, you find nourishment in alignment. Material things can still bring you joy, but they no longer define you. They no longer pull you into cycles of overworking, proving, or pretending. You've remembered who you are beyond the brands, the titles, the applause. This is the sign of true transformation. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. This is how the law of attraction really works. It responds not to your desperation, but to your vibration. The energy you carry now speaks louder than your words. You've chosen peace over pressure, purpose over possessions. The old version of you needed more just to feel enough. But now, you are enough, with or without more. And from that place of wholeness, abundance flows to you with ease. You've discovered that fulfillment isn't found in what you accumulate, but in how deeply you align. No amount of luxury can compare to the richness of inner peace. No praise can replace the still voice of your spirit saying, "I am home." You've realized that manifestation is not about owning everything, but about owning your truth. Your energy is the currency now. And when you spend it on what's real, gratitude, growth, presence, the universe multiplies your return. You are no longer a servant to material desires. You are the master of your reality. Your spiritual awakening has taught you to see through illusions. You now walk with power, but not the kind that shouts. It's a quiet, magnetic power rooted in detachment and clarity. And because of this, life meets you differently. Opportunities show up, not because you hustle, but because you're in harmony. People feel your calm, your focus, your light, and they're drawn to it. This is freedom. You're not running after things hoping they'll complete you. You're standing still in your truth, and all that's meant for you begins to arrive. You no longer beg for doors to open. They open when you knock with purpose. You no longer sacrifice your peace to keep up. You slow down, and life speeds up in your favor. The more you surrender, the more you receive. Not from force, but from flow. Not from lack, but from alignment. Not from noise, but from stillness. Sign 4. You have embraced solitude and found peace. Silence no longer unsettles you. It empowers you. What once felt like a void is now a sacred sanctuary where your spirit breathes and your mind rests. You've stopped resisting the stillness, and instead, you've learned to listen to what it reveals. In the quiet, you no longer hear echoes of loneliness or fear. Instead, you hear your truth. Silence has become your teacher, your healer, your refuge. It's where you recharge, reconnect, and remember who you are. You've begun to honor your energy so deeply that anything misaligned simply can't stay. You no longer tolerate conversations that feel empty or relationships that pull you away from your peace. You don't shrink to fit into old spaces, nor do you pretend to be less so. Others feel more. This is spiritual awakening in motion. It's the silent refusal to entertain what drains your soul. It's the unseen power of walking away from noise, not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. You've outgrown superficiality and stepped into alignment. Now, your vibration speaks before you do. Being alone no longer feels like abandonment. It feels like home. You've stopped seeking constant connection because you've cultivated the most powerful one of all, the connection with yourself. You enjoy your own presence. You understand that solitude is not emptiness. It's sacred space. It's in your stillness that new visions are born. It's in your isolation that your purpose gets louder. You've reached a state where your inner world is so full, you no longer need external noise to feel alive. You have become magnetic not by force, but by presence. Solitude has sharpened your discernment. It has made you precise with your time, intentional with your focus, and protective of your peace. You now recognize that every encounter, every word, every thought carries energy, and you choose what you allow into your sacred space. Your boundaries are no longer walls. They are invitations for only what is pure, true, and aligned. Your aura is no longer porous, it is powerful. You no longer beg to be understood. You simply continue to evolve, trusting that those meant for your frequency will feel your light without explanation. You have stopped chasing and started attracting. You understand the law of attraction not as a tool of control, but as a reflection of energetic alignment. You do not manifest from desperation. You manifest from peace, from clarity, from presence. Your life has become a living prayer, and your solitude has become the altar. In this sacred stillness, manifestation flows like breath. There is no force, only flow. This is spiritual maturity. This is what it means to awaken and rise, not in chaos, but in calm. Not in noise, but in knowing. You are no longer searching for peace. You are living as peace. And because of that, your presence now shifts rooms, not by what you say, but by who you've become. Sign 5. You naturally attract people who need your light. People are drawn to you because your energy has become a silent call. You no longer seek validation or attention. Instead, your very presence radiates something real, something pure. It's not about the words you speak, but the frequency you carry. After everything you've been through, the lessons, the healing, the shedding of false layers, you now emit a vibration that speaks louder than any voice. Others can feel it. They may not know why they feel safe around you, or why they're suddenly opening up their deepest truths. But something about you feels like home, like truth, like light. That's because you've become a vessel for something greater. And in a world where most are still asleep, that makes you magnetic. As your light expands, you begin to notice a pattern. The people entering your life are no longer random. They're reflections, mirrors, messengers. Some walk alongside you for a while because their soul resonates with your path. Others arrive with chaos in their hearts, seeking peace they haven't earned. And then there are those who don't even understand why they're drawn to you. They just know that your presence soothes something inside them. That's what happens when your spiritual awakening is complete. You stop needing answers, and you start becoming one. You attract not because you try, but because you are. Energy doesn't lie. But the truth is, not everyone who is drawn to your light is worthy of it. Some come to take, to drain, to feed off the peace you've built with blood, sweat, and sacred tears. These are the ones who haven't faced themselves yet. They want your frequency without doing the work to raise their own. And this is why your next step, now that your awakening has matured, is to master spiritual boundaries. You cannot pour into everyone. Your light is powerful, but it's also sacred, and sacred things must be protected. You must learn to say no, to walk away, to shield your peace like a priceless treasure. Because it is. There's a woman who used to give all of herself to everyone, friends, students, even strangers. Her presence felt healing to others, and they would come to her, uninvited but desperate for light. At first, she thought this was her purpose, to be the light for others. But over time, she began to feel drained, disconnected, even resentful. That's when she realized, being the light doesn't mean you set yourself on fire to warm others. She learned to protect her energy, to only give from a place of overflow, not obligation. And from that space, her light didn't fade. It grew stronger. You've reached that point now. You're not here to save everyone. You're here to be the frequency that reminds others of their own power. Your energy has become a transmission, a signal for those ready to rise. So guard it, own it, and understand this. Your presence is no longer just a gift, it's an invitation. But only those with the courage to honor it should be allowed through the door. Sign 6. You can see through deception and illusions. You can now sense deception with a kind of spiritual precision that wasn't available to you before. Lies feel heavy in the air. Manipulation stands out like flashing lights. Even the subtle illusions embedded in society's systems, media, politics, expectations no longer have power over your mind. You don't just see things on the surface anymore. You see through them. What used to confuse or control you has lost its grip, and that's because your inner truth has grown louder than the world's noise. You are no longer ruled by fear-based control systems. Fear may still exist around you, but it doesn't live in you anymore. You don't respond to the fear-mongering headlines, the emotional manipulation from others, or the energetic pressure to conform. You've unplugged from the frequency of fear and tuned into the higher vibration of truth. Now, your compass is clarity, not panic. Your guide is intuition, not anxiety. The way you make decisions has changed entirely. You're not influenced by peer pressure, social approval, or programmed reactions. Instead, your choices come from inner alignment. You know when something feels off, even when others call it normal. You pause. You reflect. You listen to that voice inside that says, "This isn't right for me." You walk away without guilt. You say no without explanation. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because now you understand that it is. Seeing through illusion also means seeing through fear itself. You've realized that most fear is manufactured an energetic fog meant to distract you from your power. But you've walked through that fog and found clarity on the other side. And with that clarity comes freedom. You no longer live in reaction mode. You live with intention. You no longer seek safety and approval. You find safety in presence, in energy, in knowing who you are and who you were sent here to be. The most powerful shift is this: you no longer believe the world outside of you has more authority than the truth inside of you. That realization changes everything. You're no longer searching, you're embodying. You're no longer waiting, you're moving. What once scared you now fuels you. What once confused you now empowers you. The illusions fell away, and what remained was your power, your vision, your voice. And now, you use that power. You speak when it's uncomfortable. You stand tall when the world wants you to shrink. You live from the soul, not the script. This is what happens when awakening ends. It transforms into embodiment. You don't just talk about light anymore. You become the light. And that light exposes everything false, not to shame others, but to awaken them too. Because when one chosen one sees through illusion, the energy ripples. When one soul stops fearing fear, it shifts the atmosphere. When you choose truth over comfort, you show others what's possible. You didn't come here to be passive. You came here to break patterns, to radiate higher frequencies, to manifest a reality rooted in love, sovereignty, and spiritual wisdom. You came here to see through the dark and still choose the light. And now, you are doing exactly that. Sign 7. You feel a strong call to step into your mission. You no longer think about your purpose. You feel it vibrating through every part of your being. It's not a mental exercise or a philosophical question anymore. It's a living truth that wakes with you in the morning and follows you into the night. You feel called not by logic, but by something sacred and beyond words. This pull isn't casual or convenient. It's urgent, divine, and unmistakable. You're no longer seeking signs because the feeling itself is the sign. It lives in your gut, in your chest, in your bones. The days of observation are over. Watching, waiting, analyzing it doesn't satisfy your soul anymore. A restlessness has grown inside you, not from lack, but from fullness. You've learned, you've healed, you've awakened, and now that wisdom wants to become action. You can't stay still. You weren't built to stay still. There's a fire rising inside of you that won't be tamed by passivity. You're ready to step forward, not because you know every detail of the path, but because the silence of inaction has become louder than the fear of failure. Even without certainty, you feel ready. You may not have all the steps laid out. You may not have perfect clarity or external validation. But something in you knows. This is the moment. You've stopped asking for permission and started walking with intention. You're no longer looking for external proof. You've become your own confirmation. The knowing within you is stronger than the questions around you. And even in uncertainty, you are grounded in trust. That trust is your foundation. That inner fire is your compass. Every day, the mission calls to you louder, and you no longer ignore it. You understand now that being chosen doesn't mean being perfect. It means being willing. Willing to show up. Willing to risk. Willing to be seen. You're no longer just a student of awakening. You are the embodiment of its completion. You've shifted from absorbing light to radiating it. You've stopped consuming truth and started living it. This is your moment of transition, your turning point from the seeker to the one who serves. What once felt like a distant calling now feels like a command from the soul. You don't need all the answers. You need only to take the next faithful step. You were never meant to awaken just to stay awake. You were meant to awaken so you could rise, lead, heal, and create. The time is no longer someday. The time is now. As we uncover these 7 signs, take a moment to honor how far you've come on your spiritual path. Your presence here shows you're not just awakening, you're evolving. Comment below. My awakening is complete, and I am ready to live in truth. Let this be your affirmation as you step into your highest self. 3. The urgency of this moment. You've been feeling that unshakable restlessness, not because something is wrong, but because something is finally right. Your soul isn't anxious, it's alert. It knows that you're no longer in the stage of gathering wisdom, but in the moment of becoming it. This isn't confusion, it's a sacred signal. Your spiritual awakening is no longer a journey, it's a call to action. Everything you've endured, the heartbreaks that hollowed you out, the silence that taught you to listen, the sleepless nights and sudden bursts of clarity, they weren't random. They were preparation. You are not here to stay in the cocoon of learning. You are here to emerge, wings ready. Spiritual awakening was never meant to be your final destination. It was the fire that refined you, the mirror that showed you who you are beneath all the stories and noise. But many stay there, circling the same spiritual loops, afraid to let go of the comfort that seeking provides. Seeking becomes an identity, a safety net. But for you, no. You didn't come this far just to collect knowledge. You came to embody it. You came to be the living proof that wisdom can walk, speak, act, and transform the world around it. You are not meant to only speak about the truth when it's convenient. You are meant to live it when it's hard. That's what makes you a master, not perfection, but presence. Not knowing all the answers, but standing firmly in the answer you've already become. Trusting your own inner compass over the external noise. Choosing peace when chaos tempts you. Choosing stillness when the world demands rush. And choosing alignment not because it's easy, but because your soul refuses anything less. We are taught that we need more signs, more validation, more knowledge. But chasing more often masks a deeper fear, the fear of stepping into power, of becoming what we once only admired. You don't need another spiritual retreat. You don't need another mantra or message to confirm what your spirit already knows. You are ready not because everything is perfect, but because you're breathing. Because life is asking something of you now. Because existence itself is your confirmation. it's like training endlessly for a race and never running it. At some point, the preparation becomes a disguise for delay. The identity of the seeker blocks the emergence of the healer, the teacher, the leader. You didn't come here to stay in the shadows. You came to be seen. You came to shine. You came to disrupt the old patterns, not just in yourself, but in others, simply by being who you are without apology. There's a vast difference between knowing light and being light, between discussing love and walking in love, between understanding alignment and living aligned. You've already crossed the hardest threshold. You've awakened. You've glimpsed the truth behind the illusion. And now, there's only one thing left: to live it, fully, boldly, without hesitation. Your power isn't stored in the pages of the books you've read. It lives in how you show up when no one's watching. It lives in your courage to walk your talk. That's how reality shifts. That's how timelines bend. That's how you fulfill the soul mission you were sent here to complete. And if you feel urgency now, know that it's not panic. It's presence. It's sacred timing. The universe isn't rushing you. It's opening the door and saying, go. This is the moment you've trained your whole life for. No more hiding. No more doubting. If you feel the pull of purpose, it's because your time is not coming. Your time is now. Comment below. I am ready to become who I truly am. If you feel the urgency of stepping fully into your power. 4. Awakening was meant to shake and rebuild you. Awakening was never meant to be a permanent state. It was designed to burn away everything that wasn't truly you. Your false identity, your need for external validation, your programmed fears. It came to shake your foundation, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you from the soul up. You were never meant to live in the fire. You were meant to walk through it, rise from it, and carry its light. But many get stuck. They confuse the path of awakening with the destination. They keep reading, listening, meditating, waiting for some ultimate sign that they are finally ready. But that sign is already within you. The constant seeking becomes a trap, a distraction dressed up as spiritual growth. There comes a point when you must stop consuming and start creating. You didn't awaken just to sit in stillness. You awakened to move energy, to shift realities, to live in alignment with the truth you now know. Your soul was never meant to be a passive student of wisdom. It came here to apply it. All the knowledge you've absorbed, the pain you've processed, the illusions you've shed, they were never the end goal. They were preparation. You are not here to only hold light. You are here to embody it. It's time to become the message you've been listening to, the healing you've been chasing, the strength you've been searching for. You are the answer to someone else's prayer. You are the light at the end of someone else's tunnel. But the world cannot receive what you refuse to release. Creation is your next step. Whether it's writing, speaking, leading, or simply showing up in your authenticity, this is how your power activates. This is how you shift from awakening to embodiment. This is how you move from knowing the truth to living it. The fear will still whisper. It will tell you you're not ready. But readiness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. The ego seeks perfection. The soul moves with purpose. You are ready because you've been called. You are ready because you've been through the fire. You are ready because the world needs what you carry. So no more waiting, no more questioning, no more shrinking to fit an old version of yourself. Awakening shook you for a reason, but now the shaking is done. It's time to step forward, to use your power, to become the embodiment of all that you've learned. The season of seeking is over. The season of becoming has begun. If this message stirred something in you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. It's time to stop consuming and start creating your truth. Comment below, "I am ready to rise and build my true self." 5. You were chosen for a purpose. You were chosen for a purpose. Not by coincidence, not by accident, but by divine intention. Your awakening wasn't random. It was a spiritual assignment, a call to remember who you truly are beneath the noise of this world. You didn't just wake up to feel enlightened. You woke up to become a force of transformation. The spiritual shift happening across the planet isn't just something you observe. It's something you're meant to help lead. And this leadership doesn't come from ego, power, or control. It comes from alignment, embodiment, and courage. You were called because your soul said yes, long before your mind understood what it meant. You were never meant to wait for angels, guides, or mentors to hand you the answers. They are here, yes, but their role is to nudge you, not carry you. Their whispers can remind you, but they can't act on your behalf. Only you can do that. Only you can stand up and say, "I am ready to rise." The chosen ones are not chosen to be passive. They are chosen to step forward when it's inconvenient, to walk in truth when the world prefers illusion, to shine when darkness demands silence. You're not here to wait for signs, you're here to be the sign. There comes a time when learning must give way to doing, when knowing must transform into becoming. This is that time. You've learned the lessons, seen the synchronicities, gone through the fire of growth. Now the question is no longer, "What is my purpose?" but "Will I live it?" The world is aching for those who are spiritually awake and spiritually active. Not perfect, not all-knowing, but available, willing to use their voice, their energy, their presence as a vessel of light. You don't have to save the world, but you do have to show up for the piece of it that was assigned to you. Living your purpose is not about striving. It's about surrendering to the truth that already lives inside you. When you stop waiting for the right time and start walking in divine time, doors open. Clarity finds you. People are moved by your energy because it's real, not rehearsed. You were chosen because you were built for this. Your pain taught you empathy. Your isolation trained your discernment. Your setbacks gave you resilience. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. No one can activate your mission for you. No one else can speak your truth. This responsibility is sacred. You were not chosen to stay hidden. You were chosen to embody the shift. The awakening was just the beginning. Now, it's time to rise and become what you came here to be. If this message has stirred something deep within you, leave a comment of faith. I accept my divine purpose. I am ready to rise and fulfill my calling. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message meant for your awakening. 6. The mission after awakening. Real spiritual maturity isn't about how many affirmations you recite or how many hours you meditate. It's about embodiment, where your actions match your knowing and your presence speaks louder than your words. You've already awakened. You've peeled back the layers, seen through illusions, and walked through darkness with only your inner light to guide you. But now comes the real work, living it, living truthfully, living powerfully, living like someone who remembers why they came here in the first place. You're not here to stay in a cycle of endless seeking. You're here to become the message, to hold the vibration of what you've learned so deeply that people feel it before you even speak. Your power isn't in how much you know, it's in how fully you show up. It's in how you stay calm when everything around you shakes. It's in the way you respond to pain without losing your compassion. It's in your ability to walk with integrity when no one is watching. That's what it means to live your awakening. There was a woman who, after years of studying every spiritual book she could find, found herself completely broken. Her marriage collapsed, her business failed, and her health declined. All the knowledge she had collected suddenly felt useless. But in that moment of silence, she heard the truth clearly. This is the moment your training was for. She stopped reaching for new answers and started applying what she already knew. She showed up, not perfectly, but powerfully, with clarity, with presence. That shift changed everything, because she finally realized she wasn't meant to just understand the light. She was meant to be it. The world isn't looking for more talkers. It's crying out for those who embody what they believe. Those who don't just repeat truth, but radiate it. Those who can walk into a storm and still be calm. You've been chosen for this, not to hide your light, but to let it lead. Not to wait for more confirmation, but to trust what's already inside you. Every delay, every wound, every lesson was preparing you not just to survive, but to lead. And now, the mission begins. To know the truth, but not live it, is to betray your own soul. The real initiation wasn't the awakening. It's what you do after. This is your invitation to rise, not someday, but now. To move with purpose, serve with love, speak with clarity, and walk with sacred authority. Your journey didn't end at awakening. It started there. And everything that comes next is what you were born for. If this message speaks to your soul, type, "I'm ready to live the truth," in the comments to affirm your commitment. The mission after awakening is real, and it begins with action. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so we can keep rising together. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey. Remember, if you've recognized the signs that your spiritual awakening has run its course, it's not the end. It's a powerful new beginning. This is your time to embody your truth, walk in your purpose, and fully activate the wisdom you've gained. You're not here to just awaken. You're here to use your power. If this message resonated with you, please like this video, share it with someone who's ready to rise, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming insights. Your journey continues, and we're honored to walk it with you. Stay away from people who ask for these 5 things. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Carl Jung. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we explore 5 subtle yet powerful behaviors that drain your energy and block your growth, especially when others ask them of you. These aren't just red flags in relationships. They are mirrors showing you where to set boundaries and reclaim your inner peace. As you listen, ask yourself, who in your life is asking too much of your spirit? Comment below with your thoughts and experiences. Your story might just help someone else awaken too. 1. Being asked to take responsibility for what isn't yours. People will test your boundaries in subtle ways. It often starts with a small favor, something that feels harmless. Maybe they ask you to listen to their problems late at night, help them pay a bill, or fix an issue they created. You say yes because you're compassionate, but over time, the requests grow. What began as kindness becomes obligation. Without realizing it, you find yourself carrying emotional and even financial loads that were never yours to bear. You're solving problems you didn't cause. You're managing emotions that aren't yours. And while they feel lighter, you begin to feel heavy, exhausted, resentful. That's not love. That's emotional exploitation. Carl Jung's deep insight into the human psyche reminds us that projection is one of the most dangerous defense mechanisms. People often project their pain, guilt, or irresponsibility onto others, and those with open hearts are the easiest targets. They'll frame their needs as your responsibility. But here's the truth. You are not their therapist, their bank, their savior. You are not here to fix lives at the expense of your own well-being. The moment you agree to carry what's not yours, you start walking away from yourself. And no relationship, whether it's with a partner, a parent, a sibling, or a friend, is worth abandoning your peace. Spiritual wisdom calls for discernment, not just empathy. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are gates that protect what's sacred within. If someone is constantly asking you to be responsible for their choices, their healing, or their mistakes, they're not seeking connection. They're seeking control. And control often wears the mask of closeness. They'll guilt you, flatter you, even spiritualize the dynamic by saying you're the strong one, the old soul, the chosen healer. But real healing doesn't make you feel drained. Real connection empowers both people, not just one. This kind of manipulation operates on silent contracts. You help them, and in return, you expect appreciation or change. But often, neither comes. Instead, they ask for more. They learn that you will say yes, that your guilt will override your instincts. And every time you say yes to something that violates your inner truth, you weaken your connection with yourself. You begin to live reactively, constantly adjusting your energy to accommodate theirs. That is not spiritual alignment, that is self-abandonment disguised as virtue. Letting go of what's not yours is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's an act of sacred self-respect. When you say, "This is not mine to carry," you're not turning your back on love. You're turning toward a healthier expression of it. You're saying, "I will love you, but I will not be your emotional crutch. I will walk beside you, but I will not walk for you." That is spiritual maturity. That is integrity in motion. We must understand that helping someone isn't about sacrificing your own soul. It's about knowing your role. You can support, guide, and inspire, but you cannot rescue. Even Christ didn't heal everyone who asked. He responded to faith, to willingness. So why should you give your light to those who aren't willing to rise? If someone consistently brings you problems, but never solutions, pain, but never progress, chaos, but never accountability, they are not aligned with your path. Spiritual awakening sharpens your inner radar. You begin to feel when something is off. You hear the hidden messages beneath the surface of requests. Help me sometimes really means carry me. And that is where your boundary must stand. Not from anger, but from understanding. Not from fear, but from truth. And your energy is your responsibility. Protect it as if it were your lifeline, because it is. You are not obligated to be anyone's cushion for consequences. Say no when needed. Withdraw when necessary. Remember, your peace is not a sacrifice. It is a statement of divine self-worth. Let them carry what's theirs. Let them grow through it, That is the greatest gift you can offer, not your rescue, but your refusal to enable. That is the wisdom of boundaries. That is spiritual wisdom in its highest form. Have you ever said no to something that wasn't your responsibility? If so, share your story in the comments to inspire others to set healthier boundaries. If not, comment, "I will choose myself to take the first step toward emotional freedom." Let's support each other in reclaiming our peace. 2. Being asked to lend money outside of emergencies. Lending money to someone you care about can feel like the right thing to do. But when it's not a true emergency, that one-time favor often becomes a pattern, one that slowly erodes your peace of mind. At first, they say they just need a little help to get back on track. You trust them. You care. You give. But as time goes on, the requests don't stop. They grow. The problem isn't just the money leaving your account. It's the emotional pressure, the subtle guilt, and the unspoken expectation that you'll always say yes. Carl Jung taught that what lies beneath the surface of human behavior often holds more power than what's visible. Repeatedly asking for financial help without accountability is rarely just about money. It's a symptom of a deeper dynamic. It reflects a lack of responsibility, a misuse of trust, and often unconscious emotional manipulation. You become the safety net for someone who refuses to build their own. They don't see your kindness as a gift. They start to treat it as a given. Many people find themselves in this trap without realizing it. You lend out of love, but soon you're sacrificing your well-being, your savings, and your sense of safety. You start avoiding their calls, feeling anxious when their name pops up on your screen. That's not love. It's emotional entanglement. And it drains more than just your bank balance. It drains your spirit. True emergencies are different. When someone genuinely needs help because of a crisis outside their control, and you have the means to offer support, that's compassion in action. But ongoing requests, especially those made without repayment, growth, or gratitude, cross a spiritual boundary. They take advantage of your good nature, and the more you allow it, the more they expect it. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not cold-hearted. You are wise. You are drawing a necessary line that says, "My peace is sacred." Spiritual wisdom teaches that discernment is just as important as compassion. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is to let someone face the consequences of their choices. That's how people grow. That's how self-respect is built. You must ask yourself, is this helping them rise, or is it keeping them small? Are you giving because it feels right, or because you're afraid of being seen as the bad person? Your worth is not measured by how much you sacrifice for others who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. Your energy, your resources, your peace, they matter. Protecting them is not only practical, it is profoundly spiritual. Carl Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And sometimes, asking for money again and again is just that, an avoidance of doing the inner work. Don't let someone else's avoidance become your burden. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Always. Comment below. I choose peace over pressure. If you're ready to protect your energy and set healthy boundaries with money. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, share your story in the comments. Your wisdom might help someone else find the strength to say no. 3. Being asked to mediate family conflicts. Being asked to mediate family conflicts may sound harmless, noble, even. but it's one of the most subtle and dangerous ways your peace, clarity, and spiritual energy get hijacked. The moment you agree to step into the role of the mediator, especially in emotionally charged situations like inheritance disputes or long-standing grudges, you're not being empowered. You're being used. It's a hidden trap that masquerades as responsibility. But in truth, it's a weight that doesn't belong on your shoulders. No matter how well-intentioned you are, trying to fix wounds that aren't yours to heal will eventually drain you to the bone. You'll find yourself emotionally bankrupt, exhausted, and confused, wondering how you ended up in the crossfire of a war that began long before you even had a voice in the family. Family conflicts, especially those involving pride, old trauma, or money, are rarely looking for healing. More often, they seek validation, a witness to the chaos, or worse, a scapegoat when things go wrong. And if you're the one with a calm presence or an awakened heart, you automatically become the emotional sponge. But spiritual awakening means recognizing when peacekeeping becomes self-betrayal. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And you certainly can't be the referee in a game where both teams secretly want you to lose. There is a spiritual wisdom in saying no, in holding your ground, in protecting your inner sanctuary from becoming a battleground for generational pain. People who ask you to mediate their conflicts are often trying to avoid their own inner work. They want you to step into the fire so they don't have to. But you are not their therapist, their savior, or their emotional janitor. You are not responsible for fixing dynamics built on decades of unspoken resentment, control, or dysfunction. Carl Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." And yet, so many want you to confront other people's darkness, while they themselves refuse to even acknowledge it. That's not healing. That's spiritual outsourcing, and it leads nowhere but your own depletion. Spiritual awakening is about awareness, and part of that awareness is knowing when your help is actually enabling, not empowering. Take Mia, a compassionate woman in her mid-30s, who agreed to mediate a heated dispute between her mother and uncle over their childhood home. What began as a sincere desire to bring peace turned into months of emotional labor. Accusations flew, sides were taken, and when it all fell apart, guess who got blamed? Mia. She was accused of bias, of not trying hard enough, of making it worse. In truth, she did everything she could. But it was never her battle to begin with. And in the process, she lost her sense of balance, clarity, and joy. That's the price of stepping into conflicts that are not aligned with your soul's purpose. The truth is simple. Not every family storm requires your umbrella. Not every problem needs your intervention. There's strength in silence. There's power in stepping away. And there is deep spiritual wisdom in choosing your peace over forced loyalty. Just because someone is family doesn't mean they have access to your spirit. Your energy is sacred, and the more awakened you become, the more you realize that guarding your peace is not just an act of self-care, it's an act of spiritual responsibility. So the next time someone comes to you asking you to mediate their emotional chaos, remember this: you were not born to be the sacrificial lamb for broken systems. You were born to awaken, to rise, to shine from a place of wholeness. And that requires boundaries. That requires discernment. That requires the courage to say, "I love you, but I will not lose myself to fix what you refuse to face." That is the kind of strength your spiritual awakening calls for. Not the strength to carry everyone's burdens, but the wisdom to know which ones are yours. Have you ever been caught in the middle of a family conflict, trying to fix what wasn't yours to begin with? If so, share your experience in the comments below. Your story could help someone feel less alone. If not, comment, "I choose peace," to affirm your commitment to protecting your energy and well-being. 4. Being asked to change who you are or how you live. As you journey through life, especially after seasons of transformation and spiritual awakening, there will come a moment when people around you, family, friends, even colleagues, begin to project subtle or direct expectations on how you should live. They may suggest that you change the way you dress, speak, believe, or move through the world. These requests may sound harmless, even loving at times, but underneath, many of them are rooted in discomfort with your individuality. The truth is, asking someone to change who they are to fit into someone else's standards isn't helpful. It's a quiet form of erasure. It dismisses the years you've spent becoming who you are. It ignores the spiritual battles you've endured, the self-reflection, the healing, the nights you prayed for clarity, and the mornings you woke up determined to start again. To ask someone to abandon that for the sake of blending in is not just disrespectful, it's damaging. The problem is that many people don't recognize this for what it truly is. When someone says, "You'd be more attractive if you dressed differently," or "Maybe you shouldn't talk about your beliefs so openly," they are not offering insight. They're handing you a mask. And too many people, afraid of conflict or rejection, put that mask on. They begin to shift, to mold themselves, to comply with someone else's narrative. Slowly, their soul begins to dim, not because it lost its light, but because it was told that shining was too much, and that is the price of approval that is far too high. True spiritual wisdom teaches us that alignment with our truth is sacred. It is not meant to be compromised for temporary comfort or external applause. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And this becoming isn't a performance, it's a deep, often painful unfolding. So when someone asks you to alter that, to abandon what you've discovered through your awakening, you must see it for what it is: a demand rooted not in love, but in fear. People fear what they don't understand. They fear what challenges their beliefs or calls out their inauthenticity. And often, your unapologetic presence does exactly that. You reflect back to them the courage they haven't yet accessed. You awaken the longing they've buried beneath roles, obligations, and illusions. That's why authenticity is not only your power, it's your responsibility. Every time you choose to remain true to your values, your pace, your voice, your spirit, you declare to the world, "I am not here to entertain expectations. I am here to live fully." That level of self-respect becomes a beacon for others still trapped in self-abandonment. It gives them permission to say no, to reclaim themselves, to stop editing their soul for the comfort of others. So when someone asks you to change the essence of who you are, pause. Ask yourself if what they want is love or control, alignment or convenience. Because you are not a character in their story, you are the author of your own. And your spiritual awakening was never meant to make you more acceptable to them. It was meant to make you more aligned with God, with purpose, and with truth. Let no one rewrite that. If this message speaks to your soul, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss content that honors your authenticity. Comment below, I choose to live as my true self. If you're ready to embrace who you are without apology, without compromise. 5. Being asked to prioritize others' feelings over your own. Sometimes, love disguises itself as obligation. You're told to be quiet when your truth makes others uncomfortable. You're encouraged to shrink, to silence your needs, to place other people's feelings above your own. It begins with guilt, subtle expectations, unspoken rules. Don't upset them. Don't be too much. Don't ask for what you need. But over time, this emotional suppression becomes a cage. You wake up one day, realizing you haven't been living for yourself. You've been living to keep the peace. And peace that requires your silence is not peace at all. Carl Jung taught that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. That same burden often shows up in adult relationships. A partner wants you to hold back your ambition so they feel secure. A family member demands your time, your presence, your energy, yet gives no space for your truth. This isn't love, it's control. True love, real respect, spiritual wisdom, they all allow you to exist in fullness. If someone cannot love you without asking you to hide your light, then they do not love you. They love your compliance. There was once a woman who spent years sacrificing her own joy to keep her relationships intact. She always said yes, even when she was drowning inside. She apologized just to end arguments. She swallowed her pain so others wouldn't have to face their own discomfort. Her name could be Maya, or perhaps it's your name. Her story echoes in so many of us, until one day she said no. And the people who claimed to love her called her selfish, cold, distant. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was, she had finally stopped abandoning herself. There comes a point when saying no is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others. Because anything built on guilt, fear, or the need to keep someone comfortable is not sustainable. Carl Jung reminded us that wholeness comes from integrating the parts of ourselves we've hidden. And often, we hide them because we've been taught they're too much, too intense, too inconvenient, too real. If someone asks you to prioritize their comfort over your authenticity, you must remember, you are not responsible for regulating their emotions at the cost of your soul. Love never demands self-betrayal, and spiritual wisdom teaches that every time you silence your truth, you drift further from your purpose. That's the real cost, not the temporary discomfort of conflict, but the permanent ache of a life unlived. So when someone looks you in the eye and asks you to forget yourself for them, know that your answer holds the weight of your becoming. Say yes to yourself. Say yes to your voice. Say yes to your truth. Anything else is a slow death of the spirit. To honor your truth and reclaim your light, make a bold declaration. Comment below, "I choose myself," to affirm your right to live authentically and inspire others to do the same. And if this message speaks to your soul, like this video, subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual strength and self-love. Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom. As you reflect on Carl Jung's powerful insights, remember your energy is sacred. Protect it by staying away from those who demand what drains your soul or compromises your growth. True spiritual alignment comes from honoring your boundaries and choosing relationships that nourish your higher self. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the deep, transformative content we have coming next. Until next time, stay wise, stay awakened.